It's a pleasure to be here, and thanks for coming along. And hopefully today I'll be able to give you some insight into the evolving world of the BYOD. So I'm Nick Fowler. I'm one of the enterprise account executives in the EMEA region. If you don't know Airwatch already, we are the leading manufacturer of enterprise mobility management for mobile devices, laptops, and the advent of peripherals that Nick was pertaining to. So we've got a large-scale platform, but today I'm just going to focus on the BYOD part of this. I've only got 20 minutes or so with Q&A, so we have got a booth outside, which you can come and we can expand the conversation. We've got plenty of time to talk later on. Okay, so what exactly is BYOD? So according to the top analyst, bring your own device is an alternative strategy allowing employees, business partners, and other users to utilize a personally selected and purchased client device to execute enterprise applications and access data. So that's massive, isn't it? However, that encompasses all the devices that are coming through your doors every single day, connecting up to your networks. And they're all the devices that don't belong to you, ones that are in the pockets of the users that they buy personally. So there's some business challenges around BYOD, and we talk to customers day in, day out about these business challenges and how we're going to help them build their strategy and understand exactly what they need to do to secure these down, to manage them, to understand exactly what's going on with all of their corporate data, etc. So there's a multitude or a plethora of different devices out in the market. All your users are probably going to buy the best device that they can, the best one that money can buy, and that introduces a lot of challenges around the devices coming through your door, connecting up to your network, and then introducing security threats to your data. So they're connecting to your email, they're connecting to your apps, they're connecting to your corporate repositories, etc., etc. And each one of these devices, they present different management capability challenges. So it doesn't matter if it's an Apple, if it's an Android, if it's a Microsoft, if it's a BlackBerry, if it's a wearable, if it's a this, that, and the other. So we need to help you understand exactly what you need to do to make sure that you're protecting your corporate information. But on the back of that, privacy and personal information is very, very key. So that's on the other side. So this is where your end users who bring these devices coming through the door, if you're going to manage my device, how am I going to make sure that you're not looking at things on my device that I don't want you to be seeing? And there's some legal ambiguity around the BYOD side of things as well. So this is kind of around if you are managing a device and you wipe that device, enterprise wipe it, full wipe it, whatever, are you going to be taking data off that device that belongs to the end user? If you are, then where does that leave you? So if you've deleted the child's first day at school pictures or videos from a holiday. So there's some lack of, or some ambiguity around that at the moment. So these are the things we need to think of. And then there's the cost side of things. So these people are going to be bringing these devices into your organization. First thing they're going to do if they're struggling is they're going to come to your IT team, and that's obviously going to cost you money. So this is cost for the help desk, cost for the people coming in and standing behind them saying, can you make this work, etc., etc. So these are just some of the business challenges that organizations are seeing around a BYOD strategy. So what do we need to consider when we want to enable a global BYOD program? So we've broken this down into 4 areas. So employee enablement, so supporting all the devices that want to come through the door. So you can, as an organization, decide whether or not you want to support certain devices. You may not like Android, for instance, so you might want to sort of bar that off. You may not like Microsoft, so you want to stop those devices coming through. And we can help you do that. Security and risk, so making sure that your policies and restrictions and everything are adhered to, but also just making sure that you're mitigating any risk of losing information, securing your resources, securing the apps, etc. Privacy and transparency. So I've already mentioned this before, but this is a really, really big area because this is where your employees come back at you with regards to you want to manage my device, you want to do something, I don't want you to look at my personal data. So we've got some very clever privacy rules that we can set to help manage that piece. And there's the cost control as well. So these users are bringing these devices into your organization. They're paying for those devices. You don't have to buy those devices, so there's upfront costs for the hardware, etc. And if you can manage these devices in a way where they're going to be bringing them in, they're going to be paying for that, they're going to be paying for their tariffs, data, etc. You don't have to have that as a capital cost, but you still can manage those devices and assist in making sure that everything is secure. So we'll break these down a bit. So employee enablement. So we need to help you define a program. So this is help you understand who your BYODs are, what categories they sit in, who is going to be using these devices, and what's your approved list? So again, you can decide whether or not it's Apple iOS 6 and above, or Android 4.4 and above, etc. And everything else is then stopped or blocked. Okay, so if your users want to come on and pull in their email, your corporate resources, you can lay a baseline. You need to be able to give them a very, very simple enrollment process. So our solution will give that. It's just a simple laptop username and password, and they can enroll. So you've already set them up in the service to say that they can have these and what policies they have to adhere to. And then you need to enable that access to corporate resources. So this is, what do they get to see? Do they get to see your SharePoints? Do they get to see email? I mean, email's kind of a given. But do they get to see other apps? Do they get to use other things? And how are you going to communicate with your users? How are you going to communicate updates on your services? How are you going to make sure that they're in the know of everything that's changing, terms and conditions, et cetera, and give them the ability to have self-service as well. So we can give them a self-service portal where they can manage their own device, find their own device if needs be on GPS, and also manage content as well, so full enterprise file sync and share. And then there's a security risk piece. So you need to understand exactly what data they're going to be coming into and how you want to secure that down. So we provide a multi-tenanted role-based administration to the platform, which will allow you to set up individual terms of use for your BYOD. So you're going to have corporate-owned devices, you're going to have BYOD devices, and potentially you're going to have shared devices, so multiple users using a single device. So the terms of use are going to be very important. So this is up front before they join the party. You're going to say to them, if we give you access to all of this corporate data, then this is what's going to happen on your device. This is what we expect back from you. And if they don't like those terms of use, they can decline and then not go on the service. But these need to be specific for BYOD because they're going to be very different to your line of business users. And then you need to enforce the policies and monitor the compliance on that. So I'd make sure that they're not breaking the rules. We have automated services built in, so if they do break the rules, if they jailbreak, root the device, etc., they immediately can be torn from the service because you don't want those devices on your network. And then you need to make sure that you can disable the corporate access. So this is around the automated lock and white. But also, you can actually see the events and everything that's happening on the device. So maybe this, if it's a fully managed device or whether it's a containerized approach. So I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. And privacy and transparency. So again, this comes up again and again and again. So if we put our users onto a BYOD program, how do we make sure that we're maintaining their privacy, but also mitigating the business risk around security and access to the services that they're going to get access to? So I'll give you an example of this. So if you've got a user who has a medical condition, they may have an application on their device which helps them maintain that medical condition. You don't want, well, they don't want your administrators seeing that they've got that application on there because then you've got an HR issue. Okay, so we've got some workarounds to make sure that you as an organization are making sure they haven't got dangerous apps on the device, but we're also protecting the privacy of the users, so we're not actually displaying that info to the administrators. So you can still make sure that you can remove any apps, etc., that you don't want on the devices connecting in, but we're not showing that data. So some very, very clever things, and also GPS. So we can still collect data from a device for maintaining geo-fenced profiling or location-based services, but we're not going to be displaying that to the administrators. However, the end user can still see their GPS data in their own self-service portal. So we've got some very complex, but very straightforward, front-ended privacy policies. And then the cost control. So again, you can benefit from end users buying the latest and the greatest. So not everyone's got, or not all organizations have a large pot of money for the shiniest new devices on the market. However, your end users will be bringing those devices through the door. They may not like the corporate devices that you provide to them, and they're going to use their own one anyway. So, you know, this is where you need to balance exactly what it is, and you can leverage that. So you can make sure that, you know, potentially you've got the latest devices, the iOS 8s that are coming out, the iPhone 6 coming out, the 6 Plus, etc. Those are going to be coming through your doors as soon as they arrive on the market. So leverage that, use it. We have the ability on day one to support those things. So let's help you use those. We've also got some monitoring and event logging here. So we've got a pretty extensive telecom expense management service where you can actually put your data plans in there. So Nick was pertaining to data plans earlier. You can actually put those into the service, and you can start running reports and automatic compliance and regulations around those. And the self-service side of things, so you can reduce the IT administrative support. So if you give the self-service out to the end user, then the end user can manage their device, they can install apps, they can enroll, they can unenroll, they can join and drop as they like. However, BYOD is not for everybody. So we have got some organizations where you've got incredibly sensitive information or very heavily regulated. So for instance, central government, certain central government organizations, it's just like, no, there's no BYOD. These devices have to be X, Y, and Z, and they have to be set up in a certain way. So there are FSA type organizations. So some of the banks, some of the insurance companies, they do not allow BYOD in certain circumstances for certain users. And sometimes there's going to be issues around compliance standards. So if you've got certain compliance rules which they have to adhere to, which can't be adhered to within a BYOD device, then we're going to have to. We do find these. Not so many nowadays, but they are out there. So the deployment options, we have two. One is fully managed with client-based access. So you enroll the device on a client and you're fully managing the entire device. So you can, as an organization, manage that device in its complete entirety. So you're pushing settings to it, you're pushing apps to it, etc. Or you can have a containerized approach. I think the next slide actually builds this up. So you've got managing the full device. Once you've decided on how you want to manage it, what do you actually want to put on the device? Is it just content, email, or browsing, or is it applications as well? So the application space is expanding exponentially. So we're finding more and more of our customers who are now delving into the realms of using our SDK kits and app wrapping for all their internal applications to be able to manage and pull feedback from the end users. We've got the workspace now as well. So this was launched back end of last year. So this is where you've got a containerized approach. So you can give the workspace to an end user, and they can do whatever they want on the rest of the device because you know that the application that sits on that device is only going to be managed by you, and the rest of it you don't care about. It can be riddled with viruses, etc., because it's like cutting the device in half. You've got a corporate side and you've got a personal side. The personal side and the corporate side will never mix. You control the workspace, you control all of these things that sit within the workspace, and then you can remove that at any time. This has been specifically designed for the BYOD users. However, we do have some customers who've given line of business devices out to their end users, and they're using the containerized approach. Because these devices that you see in the market now, it's all about the experience of the device. These new shiny things. And they want their users to enjoy that device, do apps, play games, whatever it may be. But when they need to go to work, they go to the container, they go to the app, and it's all in there. You need to understand exactly what is coming through the door and what you want to manage. So the peripherals bit here is probably one of the main areas of focus at the moment. So the Apple Watches, the wearables, Google Glasses, etc. Like Nick said, everyone's going to be wearing these things, and they are going to be walking through your door, connecting to your networks. You need to understand what's coming in, what's connecting, and how to manage that appropriately. You need to understand the operating systems that you want to manage, like we mentioned earlier, and every single use case. So you've got the BYOD, you've got your own line of business, and the corporate multi-user. So this is big in NHS, in manufacturing, where you've got a single device being used by multiple users, so they can log in, log on, and log off. And our infrastructure. So we have multiple ways we can deploy. We deploy over the cloud, maybe a shared SaaS or a dedicated SaaS or even on-premise. But it's all based on a best-in-class technology with all the expected securities, physical securities, infrastructures in place, and change management, etc. So just to finish off, because I know I'm running slightly low on time, just a little bit about Airwatch. So we are the #1 in the market. We are 1,800 employees globally, operating in 150 countries with 17 different languages on our console and in our support mechanisms. 12,000 customers and growing. Interesting metric, around the 1,800 employees here, we've got 650 of those are actually in our R&D department. So this is really, really, really important, specifically around all the new devices. This is such a rapidly changing market. We need to make sure that we are not only maintaining the devices that we've supplied and secured in the past, but we're also looking at our roadmaps, as well as maintaining a day one support for our new OSs, so iOS 8 coming out just recently, Windows Phone 8.1, etc. A little bit of metrics there, just coming to the last slide. So it's the Gartner Magic Quadrant. So we are the recognized leader. We have been for the last 4 years. This used to be the MDM Magic Quadrant. It's now changed to Enterprise Mobility Management because it's expanded right out to full enterprise file sync and share. We can supply these slides, so obviously I'm going to go through everything. And just the last slide here, just to give you some metrics around some of the customers and some of the industries that we are playing in this market. So that's it. Have we got time for questions?
We've got about a minute for one question at this stage. Any questions for Nick? Grab it.
Wow.
Great.
Okay.
Great. Covered it all. Well done. Well, anyway, thank you very much, Nick.
Thank you.